This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For December 1st, 2023, it's the best-sounding podcast in higher ed. This is the AV SuperFriends Off the Rails. Broadcasting live to tape from coast to coast, easternmost to westernmost, northernmost to southernmost, gaste post to hitching post. I'm your local host who can boast the most milquetoast and utmost humility. I'm Chris Decter, and it's time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure. And let's say hello to today's panel of AV SuperFriends. Today I'm joined by a dynamic factors engineer from Kansas City, Jamie Reinhardt.
Heyo.
A legacy markets engineer from Corvallis, Oregon, Mark Kolowazinski.
Happy holidays.
A corporate mobility engineer from Greensboro, North Carolina, Larry Darling.
Ooh. Yep.
And a fully licensed and certified global paradigm engineer from Bowling Green, Kentucky, Justin Rexing.
I'm not an engineer.
And you're licensed.
You're licensed,
We are
though.
all
You got a
engineers
stamp
today, Justin. I did that just for you.
Stamp it from Texas.
I don't have a stamp.
Yeah.
You don't have a stamp.
We will send Justin the stamp for Christmas.
Yeah, Justin needs a stamp, an engineer stamp, so somebody send that to him.
On today's show, we're going to discuss
someone's?
how to build a multi-purpose space if you really have to.
Or why.
Some self-promotion for our upcoming live holiday spectacular. But first, let's do the news.
This is
And today's news comes from the highfalutin Chronicle of Higher Education. And the article is titled, because I just closed the tab, "Which is better, active learning or lecture? It's not so simple."
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest no dozen.
Yes.
I would think so. But so this article, let me summarize in 8 seconds, and then we'll turn it over to the panel here. But basically, they said, in the past, active learning was thought to be superior across the board, but most people who are actually teaching active learning tend to do some form of traditional, for lack of a better term, type of lecture teaching as part of that. So they're not mutually exclusive, and the two work well together. It is not one or the other.
What?
Fair?
You want me to believe that instructors do different things in rooms? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
Only active learning.
That there may be instances where you might have to like break it down and tidbits of lecturing.
Yeah, like that isn't actually part of the instructional design of active learning. Like, it's just weird. Like, the whole article is weird.
It just seems...
There you go.
It's like common sense, right?
Well, like, in the article is actually like exploring and debating another article that says it's all nonsense, or that says that active learning, the previous results back in 2004 or whenever about how much better active learning was are not relevant because all the research criteria are not met. Well, yeah, but you can't have the same person take the same class at the same time of day in one being active and one being lecture, because it doesn't work like that. And so you can't invalidate all of these other studies because of that. It's weird.
As I read
This just
it,
sounds like a research wormhole.
it might have been, but as I read it, I kind of got to the takeaway. It's like, well, yeah, it is true that instructors who use more engaging techniques will have better outcomes, right? And if your syllabus and your curriculum is about just like mass movement of data, like dump it on, then that's lecture. And it's not going to work for everybody. And not every little thing and every little nuance is going to work for one or those things. So it's like, choose what works for you, or try something you don't know how to do. I don't know. Like, it's kind of...
And it can't be as narrowly defined as they're trying to make it, because you can have active learning practices in a lecture that causes the students to stop and think and proceed to construct their knowledge. Like, and that's where the study is trying to like dissect it in such a way that
it's too binary.
It's either A or it's B.
Yeah, way too binary.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
There's going to be some gray area in between there. And yes, there's going to be some instruction given through lecture. And then there's going to be some hands-on. There's going to be some breakout. There's going to be some active part of it. I think that's the new world we live in. Like, you're going to beg, borrow, and steal from all these different modalities and all this stuff, and then make it work for what works for you in your class.
Yeah, and none of it negates the work that Scott Freeman did back in 2014, where he's outlined the benefits of active learning. Like, those are real. And rather than try to say, well, we can get those from lecture, why don't we try to incorporate more of those into our lectures instead of saying, hey, you're standing at the front of the room in that active learning space, wherever the front happens to be, and talking for 15 minutes. So therefore, it's a lecture class, whatever.
But we all agree we need more displays around the room to do either of these things, right? That's what I hear, is that more displays, more technology to make either of those things work.
Well, that's the thing that defines active learning, right?
That's what they want us to believe.
I was going to use the analogy of me and my coaching, right? Because, that's an active activity where they have to learn through play. But every now and then I do have a lecture, but I don't have enough screens out on the field.
I know. I
need
can see
more
that screens.
screens.
Problem out on the soccer
Keep
field.
getting broken. It's weird.
But they
It's
don't
the
need all
rain.
to show the same thing. They all need to show different stuff.
No, they only reflect what the instructor shows.
What the
It needs
instructor's
to be
doing.
bring your
Only
own
what the
device.
instructor does.
It's all
Yes.
different.
You can bring your own
Everything,
device, it's just not going to work in here, so it's fine.
and everything's going to be wireless casting.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe if we read between the lines here, it's quite possible. I'm trying to reread this again
Read
for like
between
the
the
fifth
lines.
time.
What's between those lines?
That says essentially the same thing we are. That, look, it's not a dichotomy. It's not this or that. And you can't, to Larry's point, you can't negate something from before, because it has been shown that there are times where active learning or participation learning, you gain a lot more knowledge. And there are times where just flat out hearing somebody talk about it and go through the steps in monotonous detail as a lecture works too. But still, there's a title kind of in the, it's like, really?
And I think you can have like the inverse piece of this, right? You can have a syllabus and curriculum laid out that's really, really good for active learning, and then have a lousy instructor deliver it, right? And the other way, you could have a lecture-based class that's really good and informative, but a really lousy sage on the stage. So it's only going to be as good as the operator who's in that room actually delivering that content.
And how many
However,
TVs there are on the wall.
Yeah.
And how many TVs? You're absolutely correct. Don't lose sight of that.
However,
TVs.
like my little soapbox that I like to get on, the last part of this study or this article talks about the potential downside of when you build the active learning spaces and you sign up students for an active learning class and you don't engage the instructional designers and empower the instructors, it's not going to be successful.
I thought active learning was just a seating chart.
It's a room classification. That's
And that is
Exactly.
a major issue at a lot of institutions, probably all of ours at various times. You get the wrong class gets assigned to a space like that because at that hour of the day, at 3 p.m. on Wednesdays, we needed a room that seats 80 people, so they get that room. And it's not a good fit for the type of instruction, the type of learning going from that class. Now, it may encourage people to explore some different teaching modalities and whatnot, but most likely it's going to be, all right, everyone turn and face me because this is, we're going to do some straight up lecture. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Could be just fine. But a lot of it comes down to who gets scheduled in the space, undoing any potential planning and specific design we may have gone through, both from the curriculum standpoint and from the physical learning space.
You ever meet with an instructor who got put in one of those rooms? And they're like,
Oh, yeah.
It's the
I do all
best.
the time.
It's the best experience when they find like,
My
I don't know
favorite is when
why
they
anybody
describe
ever
the
run
room
a
as-
room like this.
They describe the room as being really weird and all these, why are all these extras, what's going on? I
makes no sense
don't
to
need
me.
any of this.
Yeah, get rid of this. Why do you even have this? All you need is a lecture hall.
Well, in fact, we have a building going up right now where there was a space that they didn't want to refer to it as an active learning space. They were calling it some sort of multi-purpose lab. It had a weird designation. They were trying to get away from calling it an active learning classroom, but that was clearly where it started because it still had group seating. It still had multiple displays. It still had lots of writing space and whatnot, but they had crammed so many students into the space and again, this is all designed, so it's easy to adjust to the point where I don't know how you're getting 6 people at a 4-foot round table. There was no technology connections for students because I was, reminded several times this was not a requirement of the space. And I said, that's fine. You can do full BYOD and people can bring in their own stuff and every student will come in with their Chromebook, laptop, MacBook, iPhone, whatever it is. But there's also no power at any of these tables and you've selected non-movable tables. So
It's wireless now.
Yeah, it's all wireless power. We'll just broadcast it into the room.
It's like being stuck in a third world airport.
That room itself was setting itself up for failure. I suspect it was a kind of designed by committee. So now we try to make everybody happy. Now nobody's happy. And this room is this weird conglomeration of semi-active learning, problem-based learning-ish stuff and lecture. And I was like, so it sounds like what you need is a room with movable tables and chairs and a bigger projection screen, and you can figure it out later. But yeah.
Think of the anxiety that must bring, but for students,
and
when you're like
air wall.
You need air wall, yeah. But like the anxiety you get, like you've been all like I'm traveling around the world, and you're like, oh, fuck, am I gonna have enough battery on my phone? Is there gonna be a charger? Am I gonna imagine that like in the back of a student's mind, having to sit through classes all day while they're trying to like, am I gonna get through this assignment with is it gonna be charged? My phone, like, am I gonna be able to have my clicker? All that stuff. Like, where are the advocates for that experience? Like,
in a room that's overly crowded to make room for all the movable stuff. Like,
right.
So there's less power per student than there even normally would be.
Right. There was
literally one floor box shown with power right in the middle of the room with some sort of odd attempt to be like, oh, there'll be a movable lectern. I kiboshed that immediately. Like, that's not happening.
Battle ring.
So.
Extension cables.
Yeah, I don't understand.
If you guys don't
daisy
provide
chain about 17 of those.
And that's what I said. If you don't
strips.
provide appropriate power on day one, the students on day two will bring it with them, and your fancy new space is going to have extension cords and power strips everywhere.
I'm going to get those
and look terrible.
Those wireless little rechargeable power units you can have like in your car. I'm just going to start renting those out to classes. Yeah, I'm just going to like a rack of those and just, hey.
Well, Larry, you and I saw one of those at Ed Spaces 2 years ago, where it was a big block that had a huge battery you put at each table so students could plug in their devices, which sounds cool. And then you're like, wait, but who's recharging those and deploying them?
Exactly. It's a service.
You just got to put them back on the plate. You just got to take them back to the recharger.
They'll do it, Chris. You know
they'll do that for you.
Justin, you
everyone's responsible.
The size of a dinner plate?
Yeah. Should be fine.
All right. Well,
speaking
so there
of
you go.
Rooms, yeah.
Active learning, clearly maybe different, but better or not better than lecture, or no, they're the same. I don't know.
Larry said active learning is dead.
Mileage may
that's
vary.
exactly what I said. Exactly.
Put that on a coin for next year.
That's going to be in somebody's research paper.
So anyway, links in the show notes, both to the article at Chronicle of Higher Ed, as well as the study that Larry referenced a few times, but is referenced in the study or in that article is the original study from 2014. So
some guy named Scott
Freeman.
So
that guy.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about some awful spaces. And Jamie even teased us with the air wall. So it's coming.
I like them.
Like air walls, or you like those spaces?
No, you don't.
I like designing them. I don't like using them.
All right. Hold tight. We'll be back in 56 seconds. Are you looking to really improve your AV integration skills? On your next project, why not try independent amalgamated challenge cables? That's right, challenge cables. Why buy a standard cable and an adapter to put on 1, 2, or all 3 ends when you can use challenge cables? We've taken the most common connections you use on nearly every AV project and combined them into a single cable. HDMI to RJ45, XLR to IEC, and our super popular 5-pin captive screw Phoenix to composite video. Unlike our competitors, independent amalgamated challenge cables don't perform any of the conversions between protocols, so your signal stays just as it was when connected at the source. If you can integrate 6 of these cables in a single project and not get so angry you break something, we'll double your warranty. Independent amalgamated challenge cables. Good luck with that. So this topic's one that came up as was this just a discussion that someone was actually
this
doing?
This was a heated discussion.
Well, it turned
recently.
into, where did it start? How did this come up?
At the beginning of time, Chris. It started back a long time ago when people didn't have enough money to do the right thing.
Justin came on a call a few minutes late and was pissed off because he has to put in one of these.
No, Justin loved this kind of shit.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't mind them. How did this come up? You guys were bitching about them. And I was like, they're not that bad. And that's when the heated discussion went.
Yeah. This has come up in several of our conversations in the past. Somebody always gets one of these things. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. I don't know. But
it's just a gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
The whole year.
So yeah, let's take a step back and set the stage. A few months ago, we did one of these kind of a round robin discussion on, hey, we got to design our most basic classroom. How are we working through this? So I think we should do the same thing, but somebody says, I want a space that's got as Jamie mentioned, an air wall. It's got a divisible wall, an operable wall between two spaces. This room can be, a larger room. It can be a smaller room. It can split up into 4 rooms, whatever that is, because that's the clever way for people to make use of poorly laid out space in a building.
It needs to be flexible, Chris.
Yes, sometimes we may need a big room and sometimes we need 4 small rooms. And there's always that question of, we'll just connect the two and open up the wall. Mm-hmm. And that's about as far as the thought process goes. What never comes up is the actual operation of that. Who's responsible? How are we going to connect these? How is it going to be driven? Who is going to, are we making dramatic changes to our general UI and approach to things so people can come in and use this without somebody needing to be there to help them? Or is there going to be some staff involved? But this whole thing is just kind of it's a terrible, terrible process, but it happens to all of us. How do we want to put together
it's kind of like that first space on your AV life cycle sash of fury that you wear? Like, it's like that badge you wear at Pride. I survived a multi-purpose divisible room. Badges. Yeah, it's a merit badge. Everybody has their own. Yeah, you have 5 of them.
I thrive.
Oh, thrive.
No, okay. I have a lot of them.
Merit badges.
Merit badges or multi-purpose rooms?
Multi-purpose rooms that with air walls
because if you have multiple of them, you could just make the room the right size.
Right, just have them all work together. Yeah.
So I'm not the decider of room size or how it's laid out. People present that to me and they're like, "We want to do this." I'm like, "All right, let's do it."
But shouldn't you be the guy to be like, no?
Exactly. That's somebody didn't do their job at the onset of that conversation.
I thought it was fun. I sat in a meeting.
Let's do it.
A design development meeting not too long ago where they're building this new building and the architect says we're going to have this in-ceiling partition that's going to drop down and do these things and all the facilities in there. And now we're at the 100%. This is pre-construction. This is the final that's going out thing. And I asked the question, I said, are we really doing that? Because
it's already on a boat from China. It's coming. We can't turn it away now. It's coming. We're getting it.
What cracked me up was the architect's like, yeah. And then the facilities people and everybody else went, you know what? Those things never work. Why are it's like you waited until the construction set to speak up and tell everybody.
That's how it always goes. Because it's a project process. It's a process thing. Like you probably were not invited to all the other meetings because they knew
we held a series of charrettes and you weren't there.
You weren't there. Why were you not there?
So we made some changes. The entire second floor is now all one giant divisible space.
I mean. I agree. The room design is a terrible idea, but I specifically enjoy designing around the bullshit and coming up with something that's actually useful. And they're like, "Wow, this doesn't
make it a good idea."
I'm not asking how you.
I didn't say it was a good idea.
That's not
okay. Yeah. So on these divisible room things, do you separate the hotel conference ballroom from a divisible class? I mean, because I think they're kind of 2 different categories. The hotel conference room, ballroom. It's the student union thing where, okay, I get it. And it usually only has 1 projector. Fine. I'm kind of with Justin. We'll just make it work. But classrooms, man, those things are always an issue. And then the tickets, because it's a classroom problem, Chris and his chairs example, the wall's not shut or the wall's not open. That's not an AV problem.
We have
call.
Oh, it is.
We have very limited. We have very limited classrooms, as you would define a classroom, that do that function. Well, I think I can think of maybe 2 to 3 on our campus. All the others, which is many of them, are in the student union and event spaces and a lot of those areas, and we support and design all of those. So that's just.
I'm okay with walls. You want to carve and cut up a space? Go nuts. Event spaces, I get it. You want to have a more intimate event? That's cool. It's that classroom thing where we need all these features to be modular and move around and yada yada. That's where it falls apart to me. But events, there's a team of people waiting with gear. They're going to set up. They're going to set it all up. They're going to tear it down, and that's fine. They're not living with it persistently every single day.
They don't set up and tear it down. It's integrated.
I once was at a university where they had a divisible classroom like that, but they put node chairs in it. And so every time the door or the wall would open, more chairs would go to one side or the other.
If they just lost them all one time, they're just gone.
Yeah. This room now seats
Larry, I
60.
thought you were going to say all the chairs were
18.
stacked against the other side. So when
They
the
couldn't
wall
open
moved,
it.
They all fell in.
Okay. So let's dig in here a little bit. If and when we have to do this, what approaches do you all use? 'Cause I'll share mine, but Justin, you love them. I want you to go first. What am I doing wrong that make me hate these? You seem like you have it all figured out. Yeah. So let's call on our local consultant, Justin. Go.
Most of the ones that we do.
We're out of time.
Okay.
We didn't pay for any more than we
Somebody
didn't pay for
give
any more
me
than a
my
couple of
six-figure
seconds.
salary. I'm already done, or my six-figure check, right? My job's complete. So the way we normally set these up, they have a touch panel on the wall with a big plate of inputs. Usually those are slimming down nowadays to a few XLRs and an HDMI. Let's say this is a 3-room system. So you have
It's a 3-room system.
3 zones of audio, virtual zones, and 3 projectors, and it's basically 3 classrooms, but an event space. So we use the Optix AX70TN wall sensors that can go many feet.
You're in so deep right
or
now.
not.
Like, yeah.
Step 1, don't use wall sensors.
Yeah, it's great because it's automatic
No.
and you don't have to do anything.
Okay, so
And that's
it works
what
out.
fails every time.
I'm with
so
Justin
no.
on this one.
You got
It
some
doesn't
sensors.
fail.
You got some sensors
because
that are
we're not
recalling
interfacing
presets.
with the wall.
Right.
We're just, it's like a garage door. If you block it, it separates. If it's not blocked, it combines.
Let me ask you this question.
It has
Justin.
nothing to do with the wall, whether it's closed or not on like electronics.
Exactly.
Or
That's
anything
the problem.
like
It has
that.
nothing to do with the wall.
I get it.
Those
Okay.
things can break.
Okay. You glossed over a couple things. Is this one big system that you've
Yeah, it's
carved
just
out
one
and
system.
you're carving it up betwixt them? Okay. So, all right. So that's wholesale.
You're
different than what
starting
I
with
do.
a 64 by
Yeah,
64 HD-based chassis.
No, like we used to do them with 8x8s. Because
128.
it's 6 inputs and 6 outs, or
Okay, so,
3 ins and 3 outs.
you're fundamentally having one frame that you are then carving out the elements for each of these spaces. True.
Well, now we're doing AV over IP for all that. But
Okay. Right. And I think it does do that whole thing. Okay.
So, I mean, it's really easy stuff. Like, I don't know what the whole complexity of this is.
I don't think anybody here. It's not a hard to move media around. That's not the problem here. It's the stability and longevity of these systems at large, and delivering them in a simplistic way that is intuitive for the instructors who are used to just going in and going.
We have the same interface on our classrooms as we do in these event spaces.
And compromises too, because your sight lines are a little wonky with those type of rooms.
No, they're
I
not.
think my struggles usually come
Not
in.
at all.
My struggles usually come in because they're in their classroom spaces, so they want lecterns, right? Well, are
See,
they
I don't
movable
do
lecterns?
those. That's
Are
a big
they-
no-no. I don't
So-
do
yes, but-
lecterns in combined spaces.
But here's the right.
This is coming from the guy who's like remote and a VGA hanging down from the ceiling. You got touch panels and sensors and all this.
And what
okay.
You have you're cutting
everything's
buttons
clean.
off remotes for this. But
It just gives you 8
That's
remotes.
not.
Here you
That's a
go.
different place at the university.
if you put lecterns in and you have 3 that are permanently set, well, which one are they using as their primary today? Which one is sharing to all 3 of the screens?
Today
How
feels
does that
like
work?
a left.
Yeah, well, yeah.
lectern.
If the well, hold on, pause. If the wall is up, all touch panels are replicating each other. It doesn't matter which one they use; they can use any of them, and any source is presented anywhere.
I get it.
So
and
how
there's
do you,
one that's default
how do
is
you
the center, which is the most use case. And normally we get hardly any tickets out of these rooms. Everything's automated.
I get you. I see where you're going. You just basically that's the version.
We're
you get. You
forcing
see
them
that.
to
Yeah,
use
you're forcing
certain
it.
things a certain way, and it fits all of their needs. They still have the ability to go from either touch panel to pick whatever they want to. And sometimes we even put a touch panel in the back because they have a facilitator that needs to run something for a guest speaker.
Wait, so now we've gone from like shaved off buttons on a remote control to 4 touch panels in a room.
You have
Yeah,
3
I know.
rooms.
Yeah.
See, for,
You have
for
3
me,
rooms.
Man.
this is why I was trying to separate between an event center, which this is perfect for.
Yeah, you
right?
described an event
You have
center.
wall plates and you have things, but when it becomes a divisible classroom, they expect, whether it's big or small, that's the same experience. So there's a lectern with a computer and whatever else,
Which we have a
and
couple of those in
cameras
classrooms.
and microphones and all this other bull crap. And this is where it starts getting not overly look. We all can make a system do this, right? But it's what a pain in the ass, because
most of they only have one camera, even if it's 3 rooms. Because I asked them, I was like, do you see yourselves doing
room and I don't have a
3
camera?
Zoom type functions in this event space at the same time? There's like no way we would ever do that. Like we would probably do
Until
one
next week.
Zoom in a large room. But even if we're doing Zoom in the small room, just put the camera in the center room, and if other events are happening in the other 2 rooms with the walls down, so be it.
But it
that
makes more
hardly ever
sense to have
happens.
small
One
zooms
camera.
than one big zoom.
And the problem
One
with that
camera
is
for one large room when the walls are up. Like this isn't rocket science, y'all. This is easy. This is like kindergarten stuff.
No, again,
Justin,
I don't think
what's your
any
touch panel to camera ratio?
4 to 1.
For what situation?
the divisible walled classroom.
Wait,
The
are we classroom
divisible
or event
wall
space?
classroom, we don't have any of those with cameras or mics in them.
Okay.
That's just the way the classrooms are. We don't have a lot of Zoom capable divisible classrooms. We don't do that.
Okay.
Our event spaces would have one camera for a bank of rooms. You can have one Zoom session in the center. If the walls are down, you can't do Zoom on the side. You can have your regular meetings. If you want to open up bigger, open the walls up. All the microphones
gotta,
combine. All the audio
that feature
goes
does not
to
become
one
available
computer.
to you until you've rented the entire space.
Yeah, and
Or you go over and jiggle with that sensor on the wall.
This is where like your local culture comes into play, because like in ours, it's mostly used individually and occasionally used as one big one. So when it's used individually, they want all of the normal accoutrements that come with cooter. That's right, I said it.
Maintain character, Jamie. Do not lose character.
And in
will
our
never
scenario,
change.
So in our scenario, it's the opposite. They would
We
want
don't
everything
speak
the
French
large
here.
room first.
well, and if they're doing the all 3 combined large space, they want the instructor at the far side with a large screen, not 3 screens where everybody's kind of staring at their own little personal
I guess I'm
screen.
more into that. We always want the combined room experience, not the divisible. I want
Usually
all these
that's
little
the
Thundercats
case.
to come together as the giant Voltron all the time, and I want all the feature everywhere all the time.
You can't
all
have
of it.
Thundercats and Voltron.
I want it all. That's what I'm saying.
You can have
Purposely mix both.
And then you're going to put a G.I. Joe at the top, aren't you?
Yes. So
You're going to go attack Castle Grayskull.
Yes, but we're more like, I want all those mics, that camera, also these mics, this camera, and those mics and those cameras all to come together through one USB. Again, I'm not asking how to do it. I know how to do it. I just don't like it. That's what I'm saying. I don't like having to do it because it's
Mark,
so
you better, I just want to
non-typical.
check. You're not doing this with USB switching, are you?
Hell
Because
no.
So help me.
No,
okay,
no,
good.
no,
I'm going
no.
to
That
crawl
would
through
be
this camera.
awesome.
No, there's no
Jamie is.
USB endpoints at all.
It's all AV over IP for AV transport, but it's a giant matrix switch for USB.
Why wouldn't you
patch
get
panel.
some 150-foot fiber optic USB cables and
every
put it into
device
one
is
hub?
USB.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yes.
Can we splice
having
the camera
trouble with
images
the
together to make one image over fiber?
Yes, mux
I don't
it all
understand,
up.
and they're all the same camera, and Teams Room loves it.
Oh, that
It says there's only
yes.
one, so it's working, right?
But I need Teams rooms over
certified.
here and a Zoom room over there, and they have to both work.
And they're going to call each other.
Yeah, they're gonna
Combine
call
and
each other
separate.
by way of the middle room, which is running Google Hangout. Yeah,
Which is just
I think
two
these
displays with
rooms-
cameras looking at each other to
Yeah,
analog
these
guys.
rooms I think are kind of what Jamie was saying, like a cultural thing a little bit. If you can coach people into using them a certain way and showing them these certain features, they do work well. Now, in your educational spaces, yes, I agree that they're harder to fit into those. I was taking this approach. This was maybe my fault. I was taking this approach for more high level, like just in general, combine separate rooms. Because we have a lot of event spaces that we do. So.
So I get this request probably once a year that someone wants to do this sort of thing. And here's always the first thing I ask, because I bring this up. We have lots of divisible spaces. Some are event spaces, some are
Why?
teaching spaces. I ask them why, because inevitably, and I think we all recognize this, and it's the same thing with like movable tables and chairs. Inevitably, after that first week or two, after the shiny wears off, the space settles and everything stays kind of in its normal spot for a semester or two. And then maybe someone goes and moves it or whatever. But for the most part, they come up with this idea of a divisible teaching space, and it's going to inevitably end up as 3 separate rooms and scheduled that way, or as one room and scheduled that way.
that's what the registrar needs. Yeah.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
also just logistically, it's easier to not have to try to worry about that. And Jamie, you and I dealt with this years ago at the library when they decided it's going to change in the 10 minutes between classes.
Yeah, they
No,
wanted to do it by
that's not
half
happening.
days. And then they tried to do the Monday, Wednesday is one way, Tuesday, Thursday is another way. And now it's by semester.
That shit
So
ain't gonna
usually in
work.
the fall, because there's a lot more freshmen, they put the giant classes in there. It's one room with 400 people. And in the spring, it's 200-person rooms because
That's when you
they
need
don't
them.
need a 400-seat space. So now they keep peeling it back. I'm waiting for the day where it's like, screw it.
One of the
That
auditorium.
is
this
the
forever.
largest. That is the largest divisible room I've ever heard of.
Two-
Like,
Oh,
is
we've
it a
got one
lecture
coming.
hall or is it just like flat
It's-
full?
We
No,
have
it's
a
a big
divisible
Larry
auditorium
gets it.
coming.
It's an auditorium seated lecture hall, and somebody has to. And it's really weird because the back panel is the first ones that come through.
We're gonna get there. Yeah.
And the bottom of the back panel is actually at head height, so somebody has to go in there and grab it high in order to
Okay.
run it along the
And they
track
wanted-
all the way to the back.
They wanted
Okay.
to do this between classes.
Well,
Yeah.
they're
Thought
gonna
so.
do it between classes.
They
did.
tried.
They did
they
for like a
tried.
full semester. It was a shit show, but they did.
It was
I've got a
awful. We
scenario.
were always getting calls like the partition needs to be shut, and you had these like English and math, so they couldn't even. They're like, "We're
Two different languages. Yeah.
It's crazy."
I want to ask the question, and this is about to happen. Going back to my wall sensor thing. So, piggybacking off of Jamie, yes, we have a
Do you own
auditorium
stock in these
coming.
wall sensors, by the way? 'Cause
Yeah, hold on.
Wholly
No,
owned
I
subsidiary of
don't.
Rexing Core.
There's a wall that comes down from the ceiling that's electronic. Okay,
Wait, the wall comes down from the ceiling,
that's
Yeah.
electronic. Yes,
like Indiana Jones.
it
shit?
folds.
Okay.
It folds
Yeah,
up, folds down.
you put a
They're
skull
freaking
under
disaster. They're so bad.
And our auditorium is slanted with steps, and the wall comes down over that, and it's folding. I don't know how this is going to look or work.
Got
Nonetheless,
invested in this? Oh, this is
Check this out.
to come soon. Okay, coming soon.
we were having a debate about the wall sensors because this is an educational space, and the consultant was like, oh, we're not putting wall sensors in here, and that's what the client wanted. The client wanted the ability to fully pick what source they want at any time, whether the wall's up or down. And I said, okay. So when side A shuts down side B's projector, or side B gets the content from side A and moves it to side B with the wall closed, that's not a problem. No, we'll figure it out.
I want to
Okay,
jump in here for a
that's
second.
a massive issue coming.
I wanna jump in here
That's
for a
why
second,
I'm
because I
saying
think-
wall sensor. You have to have a wall sensor. Which, if that wall breaks down, guess what? The wall sensor tells the system the wall is always closed, and the systems would operate separately. If the walls broke up, if we interface our AV system with the electronics of the wall and it breaks, like we could be in a shitstorm of problems because let's say
Because those are
the
broken out of
AV
the box.
separated permanently because of the sensor in the walls
Right.
broke, but the wall is actually open. That's a
Step
problem.
3 of integrating a wall sensor is to take it out of the box and hit it with a ball peen
Break it.
hammer.
Just
and then
break it.
install
Exactly.
Those things, those air ceiling based units usually get VE'd, so hopefully you don't have to
Those are
deal
super
with
expensive.
it. Because they're so expensive and they never work. And
I
I
know.
just buy the garage door special.
Oh yeah.
Just
But
take
they're
it to
going
the
forward
house.
with it. I do
garage
not
makes
agree.
sense.
I do not agree with it in that situation. It's going to
Wall
be a
sensors
really
by
bad situation.
I want to tease something out there, Justin.
Yeah.
You said a couple secret words, and I think people
Okay.
probably heard them.
Lazy.
I, in meetings, when I hear terms like we, they, or they'll, will just do. Who the hell is we, they'll? Because it ain't me.
Faculty.
Yeah, it's faculty.
That's what
Faculty
they're-
moving walls.
I'm
Do
pretty.
they
I am
know
pretty
that
sure
they're
that's
they
not in their
this
PD.
scenario?
All they
Yeah.
have to do, Chris. All they have to do is press a button.
that's another
It's
one.
electronic.
Okay.
It'll work every time. There won't be any problems with the wall. It'll be airtight, and there will be no audio crosstalk
What's the
between the
SLA
rooms.
on this room? What's the uptime?
It's the perfect
Yeah.
solution.
Sure is.
It's not going to have any problems.
Never has. Will not in the future. Foolproof.
No.
Okay. No, I
Foolproof.
actually I do ask that exact question when I'm in these meetings, and I'd say when I hear architects say,
know.
"Oh, they'll just do this,"
They'll just
I make
do
them
it.
define the they'll. Please provide
they?
me the names of the people who are the they, because the they ain't me.
Steve
So-
Grabowski.
Right.
Yeah.
And it
Usually
usually
it's
makes
like
them squirm. They don't like it.
because I don't
the
understand
custodians,
how.
and the custodian guy goes,
Yeah.
"Oh hell
Yeah.
no!"
Right.
No.
Are
And
they at the
then
meeting?
that's our
Are
default. It's
all
either
the
gonna be
theys here?
It's always going to be IT or facilities. Both groups are like,
No, I am not they. Trust me.
I mean, you got to really think if there's a 15-minute class change, is the
15
is the
minutes?
instructor?
What
yeah,
world are you? That's luxury,
Yeah,
man.
what kind of luxury going on over there?
I know.
You've got
10,
10
15-minute
minutes
class
between
change.
classes, and
10 mi-
students are coming in and going out for most
So
of
you're
those.
going to have to hit the button and close the wall and go,
that's when
students,
Indiana
don't get
Jones
smashed by the
crushed
wall.
them.
Get out of the way.
Get out.
Yeah.
How many students on average do you lose between
Yeah, how do you get
class
crushed in that thing?
Do they just
1.7 on average.
Depends on the term.
scrape them up?
It's the person whose backpack is just sitting in the track that they're like, "Oh my god!"
Oh,
My
you're,
phone's in
you're not
there.
enrolled in this class. Get out of here.
It's going to be great, guys.
You have
There's
your
not going to be
I
any
can't
problems
wait.
with
Yeah,
it.
I think it's going to be spectacular.
Okay, so it sounds like Justin just changed his tune, like in the last 4
No,
minutes.
no.
No, he's all in. As long as he's getting paid
He's
to
like,
design
these are
them.
kind of fun to design until
into
now, and
it,
he's
yeah.
like, these things are stupid.
We can- I think we
They're
can agree.
stupid. That both can be true.
That's
They
okay,
are stupid and they're fun to design.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes,
It's fine.
That is
It's-
fair. That's
okay.
a fair.
Like,
yeah.
I don't like using the rooms, but I like designing them because it's kind of fun to automate some things and show people.
Yes. I always fall
You want
back
this
on
really
don't
stupid
do
thing? Well, I'm going
once.
to try to polish this turd for you. So here you go.
Don't
Right?
do once that you're
That's-
not willing to do a million times, and this is one thing I just do not like doing.
We've repeated our code on those rooms a million times, and it works great.
We typically will do like an overflow thing where it's like we will take a feed from a room and
I
allow
want to
people
bring
to
that
like
up.
boom, like
What
yes, you
about
can
the
see
alternate
that.
method of
Yes.
two regular, let's just say regular systems? For the system side, they're independent. They do their own thing. You've got your operable wall with no freaking sensors that you've asked they to come in and open, and then you have the one side just it sends a feed over there, and the other side simply takes the feed.
That's how I'll do it.
Why not that?
I
'Cause
do
that
that.
solves
That's
so many other.
That's my
issues.
compromise. I've done that and had some varying degrees of success with that model. It may not be perfect for
'Cause
everyone.
in that sense, yeah, I'll overflow to that room for $300. Here you go.
And what I'm not talking about is just open Zoom. That's not what I'm saying because you
I
can
haven't
also
gotten to that part.
do
That's
that.
my next note.
Yeah, but that's
Just
not what
join on
this is.
Zoom. It works fine.
But yeah, we've kind of gone that way. We've done the big giant multi-matrix thing on there and did that, and you kind of fall into that same trap of the poison we've all done, where I'm going to do a whole building-wide HD-based T system, and good luck when you have to service that thing because when are all your rooms available? Same thing. That's why I don't like shared systems between rooms, and that's kind of where the crux of my stance on this comes from.
I
And
think
we've
of it
all
as
done- by the
one
way,
room. It's
we've
one
all
system.
done the single building wide system, right? We've all
That's
made
the
that
other
mistake.
badge you get. It's very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's a
thinking
cousin to this
marketing
too.
material.
Yeah, there's a
I
cousin to
haven't.
this that is like, okay, we have these movable walls. What about the movable lectern scenario of this? That's the one that always gets me. Well, they're just going to move this around in different spaces. It's very
It is-
closely related.
It is so much easier now than it ever used
The
to be.
AV over IP thing made that a lot easier.
Yes. Now
Well, I
that
don't
you
like
can plug in
doing
a
those.
network device and just go, makes it so much easier than when you had to plug in 7 different cables.
And I had that
hope to
sensor
God
thing
they're
going
in the
on,
right spot.
Justin, where we had like they plug in here and they put this shunt in here and then boom, it goes over to this section of HD-based T inputs and it becomes this. Like we've
Exactly,
done this
like
kinds of
you
crazy
know,
stuff.
like the control sensor thing where hits a relay or whatever it is.
Well, or it just plugs in and it detects from an
Yes,
HD-based T
detects, yep.
standpoint. It detects
Yeah.
the transmitter on this input on the receiver in the card chassis. Thus, you are in position 4. So,
I mean,
but
we
that's
don't
a
do
whole
a lot of those.
extra work to do that. Other than
Yeah.
to avoid somebody pushing the button that I'm in center.
right.
Like, all right, have them do that.
But we've had several rooms that were designed with that threat that they were going to want to do that, where inevitably it's just lived in the exact same spot it was on day one. So,
Well, I mentioned that in the our earlier discussion about active learning, that space where they had this kind of misguided idea, like, oh, the center, there's a floor box with power and network for the lectern. I'm like, well, first of all, it needs a little bit more than that. And secondly, no, it's going to live where it lives and stays where it is forever. We're not moving lecterns around, especially between classes.
And
It
that
should
goes
be in the
back to
center.
who's they.
who's the they? Right, exactly.
Who's they? Who's moving this?
I'm they, yeah.
Well, they could do it between
Faculty.
classes. It's so easy.
Faculty and
Guys, just go
students
over
can
real quick
move
and
it.
do it.
You guys got students.
the one downside to the AV over IP or the IP-based solutions, because you're right, it plugs into the network. It reports back to the switch. It knows where it is.
network.
It doesn't care. Is the devices that are PoE powered to save yet another cable, and that device has to boot up before it's even ready. I'm thinking of frickin' touch panels. So yes, I've moved the lectern. I plugged in the 2 network cables, and now I get to stand here for 6 minutes while this touch
Can
panel
I interest
thinks
you
really
in a
hard.
remote control with several of the buttons missing?
No, but I'm going to go with a wireless touch panel because that solves all
Oh,
problems.
yeah.
And I'm going to start by not installing the charging base because no one puts them back on there anyway. So I'm going to save a step.
Anybody even make one of those anymore?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes, they do.
they still
Who?
do.
Who's they?
All of them. All of the people that make
Chris-
them make wireless.
The same people that are
Crestron
moving these
doesn't-
walls
or
and these
Extron
lecterns?
doesn't have one, right?
I
They
think,
don't
I
have
think
a
we're down
wireless
to
one.
just the same manufacturer who shouldn't be making them in the first place.
Okay, well,
I
they're
thought
out there.
A&P
No, I'm
the
sorry. I
car company
digress.
still
I'm
did
like,
too.
but I don't know anybody who even makes one anymore.
Somebody's saying, just use your cell phone. I know.
talking about like an
Connect to the
iPad?
web interface.
Yeah.
Like an
you can
iPad?
use the QR code that
there you
downloads
go,
the
Justin,
software.
perfect.
That,
Use the iPad to
Yeah,
run
just use the
web
iPad.
interface for it, and we'll just leave that off a charger too.
Should be fine.
That seems fine on paper.
We'll
Why
just
not?
enter that into our Apple, MDM management system, and we'll forget to update the firmware on that when there's that new rev and it disconnected, and now we
next
can't get
week
back on.
when it happens.
Or even
Also,
better
the
yet,
password
we
wrote
install
down
this
on a,
wireless router in the rack,
Post-it note.
kind of like the integrated
yeah,
way.
that's-
We install this wireless router, just connect to that Wi-Fi and control it. No
I'm
problem.
going to
You
put
keep
2
saying things with
Wexers
like
in
a
and have
very-
them talk.
Like a matter of fact way that I can't tell if you're joking or not today. And it's messing me up.
No, that's not a joke. This is the shit I've dealt with. I've dealt with this shit, man.
So around the room, scale of 1 to 5, would you like 5 being I love them and 1 being I don't? Where are you at, Chris? You like divisible rooms, combined rooms? Where are you at?
Divisible event, because I want to go back to that event
Okay.
versus classroom, or just in general. Because event, I would say I'm at about a 6. Wait, was it 1 to 5
Out of
or 1 to 10?
5?
Wow.
Out of 5.
Okay, you
I'm at
live.
about on an event scale, I'm at about a 3 to 2, somewhere between 2.5.
Okay.
In a classroom, I'm at like a 0.01.
Okay, I'm very
Like,
similar. Yeah.
You got to convince the crap out of me that this is even worth exploring. Because no.
I will. Yeah, if I get to that point where I have to do this, I feel like I've not done my job and really articulating why we shouldn't have done it to begin with. Maybe I wasn't at that meeting or was sick that day. But yeah, I don't like them in teaching and learning
We
spaces.
had charrettes, Mark,
Yeah, I know. I wasn't there. Only faculty were invited, Chris.
and not the ones teaching in there. So.
Yeah, they're just random. They just show up one day.
Just some guy. Sounds good.
Yeah, they're going to love it. Do it twice. So, not a big fan of classrooms. I agree. I understand the utility in the event disciplines. Jamie, what about you?
I think event centers, I'm okay with a 3. Even maybe a 3.5. There's a lot of places where it would actually solve a lot more problems if they just had a wall in some of these rooms for event centers. I am that sub 1. I'm in that.
If you find one, you're getting rid of it. Kind of thing. If I come to your
in
spot, you have it,
classrooms,
I'm taking it
they
away.
just
Jamming that wall sensor.
it's like the great idea that you never should have ever even considered. So
Larry.
It's like a car that becomes a plane. They're great at both.
A car plane.
Event spaces, I'm like a 3.5 to 4 because I think they are useful there for the revenue side. But I let them know up front this is going to
gonna
cost twice as much as it
Yeah.
would
Well,
if you just did it separately.
yeah, but they usually have a staff of theys,
Oh yeah,
They
they have a
which
staff
makes
of
it
days and
easier.
Who
They
they
aren't
know
me.
my number and just they call it
Yeah.
they me.
Call this other they. He'll help you out.
Classrooms, I'm like below a 1. Like I don't want it. It's just too many classroom emergencies happen in those spaces versus other spaces, or the user experience isn't as good.
Justin, sell me on this. Why do I need this?
No,
Take us
I'm
home,
not,
Justin.
I'm not a salesperson here. I think I need to give 2 scores. So like my first score is 5
We've
and
all
5.
given 2 scores.
No, I mean like 2 sets of scores. Okay.
Wait, you're giving 4 scores?
In 7 years?
4
7 years
scores ago, I'm
Our
given 5
forefathers brought
scores
forth on this
and
cause
5
of
scores.
indignation, conceived
So
liberty
2
of the executive
5s
strike.
Two fives.
in the view of I got presented a turd and I have to polish it, so I'm going to do the best I can to make this a good experience because I don't have a decision. It's already too late. The walls are built. The architect's done. I have no say in it. I've got to do it anyway. So yeah, sure, it's fun. Am I agreeing with you all that they're mostly a terrible idea? Yes. I'm not disagreeing
brought you
with
to the
that.
dark side.
So I'm more in the 3 to 4 in the vent space and a 1 in a classroom space. I agree.
Okay.
It's just a lot of the times we all know clients get stuck on decisions, architects get stuck on decisions. We can talk and tell people all we want to, and they may or not listen. But if we have to do it, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's not bad.
it is an interesting challenge. It's kind of fun
yeah.
to to figure out, but oh my God.
It's
usually the support of said decisions that suck.
It's always the downstream piece of it. Like I'm okay, and we've all done them, and get your badge and do it. If you haven't done it, find a school, you'll do it. But they always end up being like the multi-tool to me, right? The multi-tools, like you could use this to do any job, but you know damn well it is not the right tool to be doing any job. That's how I feel about them. They're capable of, but not perfect to do it. And so, buyer beware. Mileage may vary.
And if you take your just like a multi-tool, if you take your multi-purpose rooms with you somewhere and leave them on a job site, someone else will steal it.
And then they'll be stuck with it.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. So the consensus from everybody, our mixed score of 7.3
out of 5
and
out of 1. I don't know. I started to write them down, but then I lost it. So don't do it unless you have to, and then don't do it. So, but I will say this: if you are going to do some sort of multi-purpose space, make sure, especially with operable walls and things, make sure you also include flown projector screens and projection lifts, because that makes life better for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go for the whole thing and enjoy the design of it all, get all of it.
But no sensors. So wherever the lift ends up, it ends up.
Yeah, that's where
more moving parts. As many moving parts as you can have in this system, the better off you're going to be. That's
good news. Your projector's on. I can see it's up above that ceiling tile that it's on, but we can't.
It looks like it says
down,
heat warning on it. I'm not
How
sure.
How come it keeps dropping to 3 feet off the floor?
Don't use projector lifts. Don't do that.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. Come back. We're going to talk about our upcoming holiday spectacular.
Hey, y'all, it's December. You know what that means.
It's time to turn back my clock.
That was last month, man.
Yo.
Oh, God, no. It's time for the second annual AVSF Live exclamation point Holiday Spectacular.
We can't announce it that way. Chris, can you do a version of some sort of announcer voice or something?
Come on.
Join the AV Super Friends on Friday, December 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific for our annual Holiday Spectacular. It's like a really bad office Christmas party, but online, so worse.
And we want all of you to help us celebrate.
This year, instead of a gift exchange, we decided to do a photo exchange.
Yes! No filters.
Not those type of photos, Jamie. We want to see your build rooms, your work rooms, your Santa's workshop, so to speak.
The rooms where all the magic happens.
Oh, yeah, now we're talking.
Still not those type of photos, Jamie.
Oh. Okay. Well, then from one hoarder to another, I also want to see everyone's terrible, overflowing storage rooms. The room's chock full of piles of old stuff. It's still good. Things you just can't get rid of, and all of the unused gear from the stuff you just took out of projects. You know, your storage room of shame. Your secret shame.
Yeah, that's weird, Jamie. Just send in your photos of storage rooms and build rooms. They could be good photos or bad photos, and we'll still show them on the show.
And we'll have some special live guests on to help us review those photos.
And we'll get the winner a prize.
Prize? Wait. There's no prize?
Yeah, we just announced it. Sure we do.
No, you just made that up. But I guess we have some AVS Super Friends swag, so we'll get you something.
Yeah, it works for me.
Send your photos via email to mailbag@avsuperfriends.com or DM them to us on Twitter or LinkedIn. And we need those by Wednesday, December 13th. If you want to stay anonymous and hide your awful, awful shame, that's fine. Just let us know in the email and we'll keep it secret, keep it safe. Otherwise, we'll assume you want to proudly show off your brightly lit, supremely organized, top-of-the-line build rooms. And join us for our second annual AVSF Live Holiday Spectacular, December 15th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific at avsf.live. So for our final segment this week, we're going to talk about us, because that's what we like to talk about. So as you just heard, like 12 seconds ago, we're hosting another AVSF Live Holiday Spectacular on ice. No, not on ice.
With fire.
Don't have the budget for that.
Well, it might depend on the
Liability
weather.
waivers.
Yeah, there might be ice somewhere.
You guys aren't icing up the inside of your studio spaces? Oh,
Wyoming always has ice.
It's always icy there, isn't it?
true. In June.
I'm getting ice right now.
So December 15th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Those of you in other time zones, I'm sorry, do the math.
I can't do that kind of math.
Join us at avsf.live. And we're doing it's a live show, which is going to be a little bit different. We're doing some, like I said, we'll have some special guests. We're doing this photo exchange. We're going to have our fancy AV SuperFriends AV related Christmas tree with all sorts of AV related goodies on there. That we're hiring a professional AV related
Christmas tree decorator.
Yes.
Hey, that ain't no shit either. That's for real.
We had a professional designer come in and do this for you all. It's not for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is real.
We're having to hire her.
Yep.
And we're inviting you to participate. So we want you to be there live to come in and share your Christmas wishes, your end of year thoughts, your bah humbugs with everybody, and see what else is going on with
interact in real time with us. If you want to heckle us or harangue us, whatever you want to send us, ask us questions, whatever it is, you can get to us on the socials. We will have that integration. We spared no expense for this, people. We're going all out for you guys this year. It's
the
two-way.
best that free can give you.
The best, yeah. We have every bit of free going into this, and yeah, we're actually paying for some of this stuff. So it's coming out of our pocket.
Not an insignificant amount, Jamie.
No, but
it's free for
a couple
them.
Of dollars.
It's definitely not free for us.
No, it's not. But it's fun. So yeah. Be there, ask us questions, have fun, enjoy the guests, and it's kind of our annual gift to you all. We get on here and make fun of ourselves so you all can see it, not just hear it. So,
I know we didn't talk about it before. Last year we did ugly sweaters. Do you want to do ugly sweaters or something
you want
similar
to do that
again this
something
year?
like that? We could do something like that. We'll do something.
I mean, I rent my sweaters, so I'll have to go rent another one. I rent with the option to buy, but I'm not. I haven't crossed that number.
You're losing money that way, Chris.
I'm just going to body paint.
I bought a Santa suit, so I'm just wearing that.
You're gonna go. All right. Well, we'll dress up for you guys too.
But only
the
that.
money's worth out of that Santa suit. Wear it every day.
And then I'm going to return it.
Used, but not all used up.
And some stains.
And I'm not going to wash it.
That's what I just go to the store and I don't even do laundry anymore. I just go and return. These don't fit.
I'd sold my washer and dryer. You just go buy new clothes and return them after you wear them.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that crossover point for the delta between owning a washer and dryer and buying new clothes every week?
Right. I mean, nowadays they're not cheap.
It is Delta 759er is what that answer is.
Business owner.
Yeah.
Do you have to do like taxes?
I was going to say
taxes. What are taxes?
All right. So when
probably shouldn't. Okay.
This is your CFO
this,
speaking.
When's this thing happening again? So I can get it on my calendar. What's going on here? It's like the 15th?
So check your emails right now for an Outlook calendar invite, which Jamie is frantically sending to every person who listens right now. So he just looked up. All right.
Our AI bot got it. Yeah.
We're asking AI. Add this to your own calendars because I can't figure out how to do it. Yell at Google or Siri to do it. December 15th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific at avsf.live. We will, are we going to announce this? I guess so. Are we committing to getting the stream out to the socials?
Yeah, it's going to be on some socials.
All right.
Stay
We'll do a basic stream
try.
out to some socials. Larry just sat up because now he has to figure that out.
Thank you.
We'll do some
luck,
streams out
Larry.
there, but if you want to interact, if you want to chat with us, if you want to get your comments on screen and get your super chats in there, you want to join us at avsf.live. Not .com, not .net. It's a website. It works.
.live. Exclamation point.
All right.
I don't know if you can put.
No
What happens if you put an
point.
exclamation point in? Does it work?
it doesn't work. No.
We'll get the lawyers to
doesn't
fix
work.
that.
So we're going to ask Google to add that into the top level domain. So there you go. Second annual holiday spectacular on ice with body painted ugly Christmas sweaters and
Who's wearing body
well-worn,
paint?
And guests.
Jamie.
strangely
Jamie
skinned
is?
Santa suits.
I'm the only one with the physique to pull that off.
Are you are you shaving your body first?
No, it's part of the
Why
sweater.
are you
do
awful
that? That would ruin
specific
it,
about
yeah.
body painting? I'm not
Ruin the whole thing.
comfortable with this.
Told
What?
you.
All right.
So much for that. There you go. Join us in a few weeks-ish. I don't know, how many weeks is that? It's 2 weeks
It's
from
like
today.
next week.
It's June now, right?
Wow.
When you're hearing this, it's like in 4 days. It happened yesterday. You missed it.
Our advertising was spot on this one.
If you're listening to this in late December on your travels for holidays, sorry.
You missed it.
You missed
Sorry.
it.
It's been
However,
posted.
that's
Go-
probably our
Go
fault.
back
Yeah,
and
go.
watch
You
it.
can probably catch it somewhere.
Go back and watch the replay.
Hit that rewind button.
Twice
I'm not
speed.
sure that's how streaming works. Can you just keep
That's how it
rewinding?
works.
No, you
Rewind,
just,
stop,
you just
and
gotta
play.
change your time clock. It just moves it for you.
Change the clock in your computer. It's fine. I'll figure it out. Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.